going on, guys? This is David from PNP, and it is time for Week 15 Fantasy Focus. We're going to talk about the waiver wire. I'm going to take your questions, have a discussion about how things went for me in the league, and then we'll go from there. So for me, oh man, I got so much here. Fantasy football wise, overall, down year for me. 7 leagues, looking like I'm gonna make the playoffs in 3 out of the 7. If you're still watching, that means you made the playoffs. So congrats to you guys. And now is the time to try to win that title if you did make the playoffs. So I will take any of your questions regarding that. We'll go over some waiver wire things. Rashad Penny from the Seattle Seahawks have made an emergence. I remember there was a time when people thought that Rashad Penny was going to be the guy in Seattle, but it looks like he might be the guy to lead you to a fantasy championship if you need running back help. So Rashad Penny is a guy that you should be looking into getting in some leagues if he's available. Jeff Wilson Jr. from the San Francisco 49ers is another guy you should consider. Austin Eckler got injured. Hopefully you guys handcuffed, but if you did not, Justin Jackson and Josh Kelly are the 2 guys. Last year, they kind of did a split back system. I anticipate they're going to do that again. The Miami Dolphins has got some problems with the Rona. So Malcolm Brown becomes intriguing this week from a fantasy standpoint. The Carolina Panthers struggle with Russell Gage, but particularly C.J. Henderson struggled with Russell Gage. But Russell Gage is getting a lot of target share in Atlanta. So he's an option if you're desperate at wide receiver. Rex Burkhead from Houston. Gabriel Davis from Buffalo, St. Brown, Amon Ross St. Brown from Detroit. Those are some other options. After that, it gets ugly. Not too many things you can do at the tight end position from that standpoint. So I will take your questions. It looks like I'll go ahead and have this discussion about the Carolina offense when it comes to fantasy football. At this point, I don't think I would trust anybody to lead you to the promised land, and odds are pretty high. If you made it to the fantasy playoffs, you didn't have too much Carolina on your roster anyway, because there was a lot of inconsistency on the offensive side of the ball. So congrats if you did make the playoffs without dealing with the Carolina forte, because Carolina's offense has been horrid for the bulk of the season. So it'll kind of be a tough sell to believe that you made the playoffs with them. But I will take your questions. If you don't have any questions, this will be a very, very short show. But I will say, man, the things that I learned this year, we said prior to the season that COVID was still going to be a thing. COVID, I could argue, is absolutely going to be a thing rushing into the end of this season. There's been a lot of COVID cases over the past few days alone. So from that standpoint, you got to be vigilant and pay attention to what's going on with your players. And sometimes you don't realize it's a COVID issue. Like if you had Antonio Brown, all this time you probably thought he was injured, only to find out that he was out here with the fake vaccination card. Now he might be out of a team. So, you just kind of got to manage it from that standpoint and then do your best with what you need to do. But when you want to talk about any Panthers players that I would trust from a fantasy standpoint, I don't think I'll trust anybody. You can't test the quarterback situation. The running back situation is those guys are 2 touchdown dependent from that standpoint between Chuba Hubbard and Amir Abdullah. The wide receivers, I can't trust DJ Moore. It's hard to trust Robbie Anderson unless you're really, really desperate. Tight end, you never were trusting tight ends all season. Panthers defense have not played well from a fantasy standpoint over the past couple of weeks. You kind of can't trust them either. So, that's pretty much my spill about week 15. We're in the playoffs right now. I'll tell you the same thing I've been always saying. This is not the time to get cute. So the guys that got you here is probably going to be the guys that'll finish you off at the end and get you to the championship. Unless there's like a legitimate no shit opportunity to improve your team on the waiver wire. Those are few and far between. You need to kind of roll with the guns that you got. 3 playoff games, the 3 playoff leagues, those 3 playoff teams I did make, I think I have a shot to win maybe one of them. It all depends on how things fall as they may. I've been managing injuries for most of my leagues like most people have. The combination of injuries and COVID has been challenging to say the least. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have from that standpoint. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Use the code PNP, and you get an additional. You get some extra money on your deposit. So when you sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com, use the code PNP. I don't see too many comments, so I don't know if. Let me check YouTube to make sure the comments are working. I'm not sure. You think? I mean, Denver is. I mean, why? Why Denver? Why not anybody else? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're gonna have to give a lot of picks. We need to. We don't know. Denver might make the playoffs. Denver's still in the playoff hunt, so that'll be a long drop because Denver could still legitimately make the playoffs. They're not that far away from the final playoff spot. They're actually a game out of the final playoff spot. But yeah, man. ESPN had a pretty dope article about the players that are on the players that are the most common on their playoff teams. I'll name a couple while we wait for some questions. I mean, Cooper Kupp was the main guy, 70%. He was on 70% of the playoff teams. Cordell Patterson, 62%. Jonathan Taylor, 61%. Hunter Renfrow, 60%. Austin Eckler, 56%. Elijah Mitchell, 55%. Alexander Madison, 54%. Dawson Knox, 53%. Justin Jefferson, 53%. Chuba Hubbard, 52%. Dalton Schultz, 52%. Greg Joseph, 52%. Deebo Samuel, 51%. Mark Andrews, 51%. Leonard Fournette, 51%. Keenan Allen, 50%. Devontae Adams, 50%. Justin Herbert, 50%. Najee Harris, 49%. Tyreek Hill, 49%. Josh Allen, 49%. Tom Brady, 48%. Joe Mixon, 48%. Ezekiel Elliott, 45%. Let me see if there's anybody else worth mentioning. Travis Kelce, 46%. I think the key this year was making sure you don't have a bust in the first round. And if you had a top 5 pick, odds are you picked somebody that ended up getting hurt, which is unfortunate. Unless you got Zeke. Yeah, but I'm always intrigued by this data. The wide receiver there this year is interesting. So the top 5 wide receivers that are in playoff teams this year: Cooper Kupp, Hunter Renfrow, Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Keenan Allen. No Devontae Adams. All right, let's see. TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Knox, or Dalton Schultz this week. I like Dawson Knox. Excuse me. Oh, but I'd rather have Rashad Penny at flex more than anybody else. If you're making me pick, I'd rather have a running back at flex than anybody else. So give me Rashad Penny. If he's available, man. He might not be available in your league. A lot of folks picked him up last week. But now this is very interesting. What's more interesting is the quarterbacks, like Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. I had Josh Allen as the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. Patrick Mahomes didn't make the top 5, but a lot of these other quarterbacks were guys you could have gotten late, like Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Those are a lot of guys you could have gotten late. Which goes back to my philosophy of you can hold off on a quarterback. Now, as for tight end is interesting, man. Dawson Knox, in some leagues, he probably wasn't even drafted. Dalton Schultz, super late. Mark Andrews, he was more of the high end tight ends. George Kittle, he made an emergence closing out, but he's balling to Travis Kelce. So if you took Travis Kelce in the first round, it looks like it worked out for you. Running backs are interesting. Cordell Patterson came out of nowhere. I always had a first round grade of Jonathan Taylor, so if you took him in the first round, it worked out for you. Same goes for Austin Eckler. Elijah Mitchell, another guy that kind of was. I'm never a fan of San Francisco running backs because it's always a committee. But if you hit the right one, and sometimes it'll work out for you. And Alexander Madison is interesting. He's at 54% considering the circumstances because Dalvin Cook has had a lot of injury challenges this season. I mean, he balled out last week, but he's been having a lot of injury issues. Defenses, we talk about the power of defenses. Cardinals, Saints, Packers, Patriots, Bills are the top 5 that are in the playoffs right now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Barkley, or Rashad Penny for flex. I'm taking Barkley there. Light today, man. It must be close to the holidays or something, or you guys didn't make the playoffs, and that might be my fault if y'all didn't make the playoffs. It was a rough year for me, man. I had one league where I started 7-3, lost the last 4 games, missed the playoffs. So it's been rough in these streets. It's been rough in these playoff streets, to say the least. Any more questions in the chat, guys? Because if you ain't got too many questions, I'm gonna close out. I'm beat. I've had a long day. I keep telling you guys, I got a job too. You can't. Let's see. Oh, you need flex on RB too. My bad, man. Give me Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Barkley. Those would be the 2 that I would use. Taysom Hill, if he's available. Taysom Hill's an option. Let me pull up the waiver wire column real quick. Let me pull up who would be. I'm gonna pull up a league to see who's available in one of the leagues that I'm in, because I'm not sure what would be available. Josh Allen is gonna probably play though, so you might not have nothing to worry about here. But if you do need a quarterback, let me see here. Let's see. Yeah, I wouldn't be in a rush. I'll tell you that. I mean, for most leagues, the best option you're going to have is Baker Mayfield, which is kind of an ugly proposition. Or maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. Tua might be available. Let me see here. Let me check and see if he's available. Josh is probably going to play. Well, then pick up Trubisky. I think Josh is going to play. I don't think Josh is going to miss the game on Sunday. If he does, just pick up Trubisky. I think I like Trubisky. Carolina hasn't shown me enough that they can stop Trubisky. So, I mean, if Wentz is available in leagues, you can go after him. I think if Tua is available, that's probably be an option, or Justin Fields. Because some folks will probably drop Justin Fields after he kind of had some rough outings. So that's an option too. Let's see. I mean, I honestly think that Josh. I think Panthers fans is hoping that Trubisky will play, but I don't think it matters. We can't beat Trubisky either, man. You can't convince me otherwise right now. Well, yeah, but Trubisky's got some legs on him. He's a viable fantasy option. He can run the ball as well, so you can roll with Mitchell Trubisky as well. Not a safe drive. I guess I need to tell him, don't I? Rule's not getting fired this year, bro. Even if we lose out. I just want you guys to know that. I'm here to help. He's not getting fired. You go ahead and forget that. Think other things. Nah, it's not snowing. Robinson's been playing hurt for weeks. I mean, I wouldn't panic too much about him, but James Robinson's been playing hurt for weeks. But let's see. Absolutely not. You got to play Joe Mixon. You play Joe Mixon over James Robinson. I doubt they'll be available unless Tua's out there, and that's a risk, man. That's going too cute. I gotta take my chances with Dak. Like Dak's my starting quarterback in one of my leagues that I make the playoffs in, so I gotta take my chances with Dak. It's not optimal, but gotta take my chances with Dak. I told you it's either gonna be Shy or Terrace. I told you guys that when they swapped. I warned you guys. It's funny. I looked at that top five, and I got a squad that has a bunch of those top five playoff guys, and my team did not make the playoffs. Damn shame. It is what it is. Had a couple rough outings this year. Some wounds were self-inflicted. Some wounds were some was terrible luck. It's like, for example, there was one league where I think I'm like let me see. There's a league where I'm the third top scorer in the league, and I placed 10th in the standings. Third top scorer, placed 10th. I had the toughest schedule of the year. So sometimes your luck just isn't there. It was hilarious though. Third top scorer, but my opponents gave me the most points. So not I, sir. Not in the PNP league. Not I. Ugly in these streets, man. Can't believe I started 7-3 and lost the last 4 games. All I had to do was win one more game between now and last month, and I couldn't do it. It is what it is, though. Those are the breaks. All right, man. I'm gonna call it a night because I'm not getting too many questions. My apologies for not making it last week. I had some personal things I had to take care of last week. Yo, it was a rough year this year, man. Like I underestimated a lot of things. There were some things that I was right about. And there was a couple things I was wrong about. Um, I mean, but I think a lot of folks were wrong about Christian McCaffrey. I was right about Austin Eckler being a top 5 pick. I was right about Jonathan Taylor being a first round pick. Um, it happens, man. You know, I can't always make the playoffs. I was right about Josh Allen being the better option to take as the first quarterback in the draft because Mahomes was disappointing this year. I think Allen ended up becoming is the second. I was right about Darnold too. I was definitely right about Darnold. I did a whole video on Darnold. I was definitely right about Darnold, and I got heat over that too. People thought I was crazy when I said what I said. I said he's never played a full season. He still has not. And I also said he's not going to do as well as we think he's going to do. He ended up actually doing worse than what I projected him to do. I know, but the funny thing is, the first couple of weeks, folks were saying you were wrong about Darnold. I was like, it's only 3 weeks, bro. It was a long season, you know. Yo, my fantasy team kind of looked just like the Panthers in the game. If you want to keep it a buck. Hey Danielle, how you doing? Yeah, I did, but I'm not the type of I don't care about the criticism because I go with what I see. That's the way I've always been. All right, I'm gonna close out. It's been real, guys. I'm going to next week. I'll probably go over the rankings. We'll probably talk. There probably won't be. I'll give you an update on how things are going in the fantasy land, but we'll probably focus on continue to dig through the data and look through that. And I will be doing my Q&A Sunday morning at 11 prior to inactives. So like and subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of draft. Rashad's got a lot of draft picks, draft content to come down the pipe. Become a Patreon if you haven't already. You can go to patreon.com/PantherNationPC. It's between him and Derek. I mean, he's the no-brainer right now, but things can change in the offseason, right? Like Jonathan Taylor benefits because he didn't get hurt. I mean, he won the war of attrition. Even there were so many folks that got hurt. Derrick Henry got hurt. Dalvin Cook was injured throughout the season. Alvin Kamara got hurt. Christian McCaffrey was pretty much hurt for the bulk of the year. Took a while for Saquon Barkley to come back. Ezekiel Elliott out here limping in these streets. It just depends. Cooper Kupp's interesting because people forget that he had that bad knee injury the year before, and all of a sudden he came in. So you got to be careful, man. It's kind of hard to there's some level of prediction about it, because a bad injury kind of ruins anybody. But yeah, Cooper Kupp is going to climb up the boards for sure. Because Cooper Kupp, you got Cooper Kupp in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, you got a steal, to say the least. But what I've noticed too about a lot of these leagues, the top teams are pretty heavy because if they drafted well, if they got Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, which is very possible for folks to have, and then you ended up getting Jonathan Taylor, that's an unstoppable situation from that standpoint. But it's the fantasy playoffs, man. Anything can happen. Anything can happen in the fantasy playoffs. My boy Tony, who's 11-3, he got a pretty strong squad. He's gonna be a tough out. But all right, guys, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's been real. I'll see you guys on Sunday with the fantasy Q&A. Am I going to be able to do it on Sunday? I should be able to do it on Sunday. We'll see. I might have to. That is right, because I'm going to New Jersey this weekend. Yeah, it might end up being a. It might be. I might do something unique this round. I might do it on Twitter Spaces, but we'll figure that out. But you guys have a good one. Peace.